It's about what we do, and that's providing crisis intervention, safe housing, and supportive services to people experiencing homelessness and domestic violence. So that's the first piece of what we do, but it's how we do it that I think is most important. And that's by engaging the community and building effective relationships.
Audio Jungle.
Hello, and welcome to Business Focus, produced by the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce. My name is Angela Inzerillo with Impact Business Solutions, and I'm privileged to be your host as we highlight the great work our local businesses are doing. Well, whether you are a full-time follower or are joining us for the first time, we would love for you to comment, like, and share so we can share all of our fun upcoming episodes and all the great work, like I said, that our local businesses are doing. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Joe Meyer with Shelter House, their executive director and CEO. Mr. Joe, welcome.
Thanks, Angela.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, it's been a while. I was saying that earlier that I haven't seen you in a bit, and you guys have been up to such great things. So I was thrilled to have the opportunity to feature you this week on our show.
Great. Yeah, it's a great opportunity for us too, Angela, to be honest, to provide some information, but also some exposure to some of the issues that we're facing here in Fairfax County and all of Northern Virginia.
Yeah. How did you get this Shelter House? And I can't believe it's been 20 years. You had to have started in what, grade school? I mean, come on.
Before grade school, actually, before
there
grade school.
Of course.
I give a lot of credit to kind of how I was brought up in the nonprofit sector. My very first real job was actually with Reston Interfaith. It's now Cornerstones, where I was a case manager, and I really attribute a lot of my knowledge and experience just within the first 4 years that I was working there. As a very young professional, moving down from Western Pennsylvania. I was born into a very fortunate situation where I have a middle-class family, 2 parents with 3 brothers, and really didn't know of any issues that were going on in the world. And it wasn't until I moved down here to get my first job after getting a degree in social work, knowing that I wanted to help people in some way, but I got my first job there at the shelter in Reston, and just opened my eyes to just so much need, but also so much learning that I had to do, thinking that, hey, here's my first job and I'm the expert. And I learned very, very quickly that we are not the expert in other people's lives. We could be the expert in our own lives, but not other people's lives. We certainly learn from them and continue to learn from them, no matter what their situation is. But then, I was given the opportunity. It'll be 20 years in February when I moved to Shelter House, and was really given the opportunity to help grow this organization. So just very fortunate. It's a great organization, working with people experiencing homelessness and now also victims of domestic violence.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into talking about that. But you said it right. My husband and I, we came from corporate before we started our business and joined the Reston Chamber back in 2009. I didn't know about what was happening locally. It's not like I didn't care. It was just an awareness of what's happening right in our backyard. So yeah, you are thrown in and you're doing some great work now. So yeah, let us talk about that, because I definitely want people to be aware. It's all about the awareness. And then what can we do to help? I mean, we've got a lot of viewers in the business community as well, and people do want to help. They just want to know how. So let's talk a little bit about the kind of the mission and the vision a little bit, and then we'll talk more about like who you're helping and how, and then how we can help you.
Thank you. As I said, this is a great opportunity for us as a community, all the nonprofit partners, to kind of get the word out there about homelessness. We don't see it in the suburbs. When we think of homelessness, and I shared my own experience growing up. When I thought of homelessness, I thought of people in the inner cities who were sleeping on park benches, sleeping on grates. Those are the people you see. And when something is in front of you, that's what you imagine it being. And that's not what we see nationwide when it comes to homelessness. We are seeing people who are working. We are seeing mothers, fathers with their children. We are seeing victims of domestic violence who are escaping dangerous situations. And those are the people that we don't see as being homeless. right? Because they're not sleeping on the park benches.
Right.
We certainly have a job as a community, as a society, to take care of everyone, those who don't have a roof over their head, but also those who are coming into shelter for help. And here in our community, Shelter House operates both in Fairfax County. We have 4 shelters in Fairfax County, 2 family shelters, and 2 domestic violence shelters. And then we also operate 1 family and single shelter in Loudoun County also. So we are, really trying to, spread our footprint of, an impact within, all communities here in Northern Virginia. But on any given night, we're seeing over 1,000 people just here in Fairfax County who experience homelessness.
Yeah.
That's people who are in our shelters. That's also people who are sleeping in cars, sleeping outside in tents. So when we think about the total population of Fairfax County, you also look at the wealth of Fairfax County, and I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about us, the people.
Yep. People.
It's really hard to believe that we still have 1,000 people experiencing homelessness, and it's hard to imagine that so many of them are children that are experiencing homelessness.
Are you filled on a nightly basis?
Every night, yes. Not only are we filled, but we also, for our family shelters, we basically have a no turn away policy. So if a family shows up at our shelter who is experiencing homelessness, we will help them. We work very closely with Fairfax County government and Loudoun County government to make sure that no family on any given night goes without a roof over their head. We want to make sure that they have somewhere to stay. So we work with local hotels also to make sure that we have a night or 2 of respite before we can serve them in our shelters. Our domestic violence shelters are the same. We have certainly seen an increase, and we can talk about this, I think, a little bit more, but we've certainly seen an increase since COVID in homelessness and domestic violence. And our goal really is, going back to our mission, our mission, what I like to break it down into kind of two pieces. And I think that we were very intentional here at Shelter House with our mission. And it's about what we do, and that's providing crisis intervention, safe housing, and supportive services to people experiencing homelessness and domestic violence. So that's the first piece of what we do, but it's how we do it that I think is most important. And that's by engaging the community and building effective relationships. So when you look at our website or you look at our mission, that's what it is that we are here to prevent end homelessness by engaging the community, building effective relationships in order to provide the safe housing, supportive services, and crisis intervention. So I really want to emphasize that building effective relationships piece, because I think that's how we have been able to grow as Shelter House, is making sure that we are building effective relationships with the community, with each other internally here at Shelter House, with our nonprofit partners, with the county governments. But most importantly, it's the people that we serve. We need to make sure that we are building those effective relationships, building trust with our community, but also with the people that we are serving, so that we can get them back out into housing.
Now, you said you serve a lot of the children, which is disheartening. Are they usually part of a family, or is
Yes.
it their?
Yes. So we primarily work in Fairfax County, we primarily work with families experiencing homelessness. So as you can imagine, when you're working with families, typically, a family size is 2 to 4. So we serve majority of families in Fairfax County. In our domestic violence shelters, we serve both singles and families. So yes, the children and youth that we serve are intact with the family.
And how long will their typical stay be?
Yeah. So, this is another thing that we work very, very hard at. And, I mentioned earlier, made the statement, that we're not the experts in other people's lives,
Nice.
right? We're the experts in our own. But we really have to depend on listening and engaging with the people who are in need. We do not have a one-size-fit-all program. We have a breadth of programs under Shelter House. One is the shelter program, which is what Shelter House is kind of known for because of our name. But we also have housing programs, and we're serving 1,500 households per year. in our shelters and in these housing programs to stabilize them so they don't return back into homelessness. So really depending on how, what program we're talking about, our shelter programs, we can have a family in there for 2 weeks. We can have a family in there for 3 to 5 months. It just really goes to where the family is and what barriers they have in order to get them back into housing. I also keep bringing up homelessness and domestic violence. The people that we serve in our domestic violence shelters are homeless due to domestic violence. However, they're two very, very separate approaches. And on our domestic violence shelter, it's about safety. Number one is safety. The people that are coming to us are not people that just got in an argument with their significant other. These are people who are literally fleeing for their lives to come into shelter and come into safety. So those lengths of stay can sometimes be a little bit higher. And again, it's meeting the people where they are to make sure that they are, number one, they are safe. We put things in place and help them with any legal things that they need, custody stuff that they have going on with the children. And sometimes that could take a while. We really try not to put a number on, hey, a family has this amount of time to stay and then leave, because we know all the families, they all come in just like you and I. We have two different experiences. What may take me a little bit longer to do may take you, a couple hours to do. We really just try to meet people where they are and see where they are in their life and their experiences, and then help them move through the situation.
And it takes time. Like you said, first of all, just to accept help, or, to admit. You're right about the domestic violence, and that's just horrible to hear, but you're right, safety is a priority. And you talked about legal, like what are some of the other services? So these partnerships, so feeding them and clothing and all of that. If some people, they leave with their clothes on their back, right? So it's not just shelter, right?
Right. Yeah. We're really trying to break down any barrier that a person has to re-enter or to go into permanent housing. So you're absolutely right. There are basic needs that a family has when they're coming into shelter, whether it be our domestic violence shelter or our homeless shelter. A basic need could be, like you said, clothing. And we have partnerships with different other nonprofits, such as The Closet, right there in Herndon, where we refer people to get clothing. Other secondhand stores to get clothing. We have other partners that have food banks that we can refer people to get food. Another, very quick service is we partner very closely with Fairfax County education system and schools to make sure that the kids are in school. Homelessness is a major disruptor, as you can imagine, is a major disruptor for a child, and having to be pulled out of school and not having a safe place that they can lay their head at night. So we work day one or within the first week, we are working with Fairfax County Public Schools to make sure that the children have transportation to and from school. So that's another service. Employment services. Some families need, very basic resume building and how to build a resume in order to get, just a seasonal job. And right now is the time for seasonal jobs. So we may have a family that, comes in with a very poor work history due to the circumstances. We just try to get them a job anywhere. And then there's other families that come in that have college degrees, high school diplomas, where they've had jobs before. It's just in the situation, due to the circumstance, they don't. So employment services are another one. Another, really big one now that I think it's something that we're all really focused on as a society is mental health, making sure that people's mental health is being addressed and taken care of. As you can imagine, experiencing, and again, it's hard to imagine. I can't even imagine. I've been doing it for 25 years. But try to imagine being homeless yourself and the amount of stress that puts on you as a parent, as an individual, not knowing where you're going to be staying in a month or 2 months, and not knowing how far you're going to be away from your job, not knowing how you're going to get your kids to and from school or to after school activities. That can take a toll on your mental health, just the situation that you're in right now. But you also back that up and you look at the situations that got them to homelessness. It could be domestic violence. It could be years worth of abuse. It could be years worth of being caught in the system of poverty, where you are not given the opportunity to thrive. And that takes a toll on mental health also. And then people that are born with serious mental illness, that become homeless. So mental health is a big component of what we do, and connecting them with services to make sure that the mental health is addressed.
Well, and that's why I'm so happy that you're here to share, give insights and awareness to the issues, because it's not just about the housing component, the shelter piece of it. There's so many other, and that's what's a great thing about, being a part of the chamber, being part of the community, are these businesses and these people in the community that want to help. They just don't know how. And so this is a great awareness. I mean, what's the best way for people to help you? And I know there's probably priorities. And so how can we shed some light on those?
Yeah, I do not operate in a way of a one size fit all. Everybody has a gift to give.
Yeah.
It just depends on what gift you were born with or what gift you currently have to give. We always, of course, to make sure we have enough resources for the people experiencing homelessness to get them back into housing. Monetary donations are always very welcome. Running a nonprofit is costs money,
Yeah.
but it also our contracts that we have, and our grants that we receive just aren't enough sometimes to fill the gaps to make sure that we're ending this problem. So monetary donations, also drives. A lot of groups do different drives for us, whether it's something as what we think is small as a pillow drive, to food drives to help furnish an apartment for a family that's leaving the shelter. Volunteer opportunities too. If you have a skill, if you were gifted a skill that can help with any one of those issues that I was talking about earlier, that's always helpful. And all of this information is on our website at shelterhouse.org. You can go to Get Involved, and it shows you all the different ways to get involved and all the different needs. People ask sometimes, well, what's your biggest need right now from an in-kind
Right.
perspective? And we have a partnership with Amazon that we have Amazon wish lists. So we update that on a regular basis, and keep that live where somebody can go on. If you live close to our Catherine Hanley Family Shelter and you want to donate there, you click on that link and it takes you just to the needs of that
Oh, yeah.
particular shelter.
Yeah.
It's very intuitive there on our website at shelterhouse.org on how to get involved in helping us solve this problem.
Is social a good way as well, like following you guys on, because that sometimes I feel is more immediate and reactive, so people can share it with their circles?
Yeah, so we send out a lot of information on our social media sites, and we go through the typical Twitters, or which is I think is called X now,
X.
um, and Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, we really appreciate sharing the information that we have. I think we were talking at the beginning that the start of this is awareness. We need to make sure that people are aware, because like I said, we don't see it in front of us all the time. The people that are serving us coffee at Starbucks, the people
Right.
that are
Right.
checking us out during the holidays, some of them are experiencing homelessness right now. We just never know who is experiencing homelessness because we don't see it. So share as much information, like our posts, things like that really help us to gain visibility, to make sure that people know about the issues that we have, and we can keep making the impact to get people back into housing.
Well, I'm thrilled that you guys are now part of the chamber, more active, so that we can help, because there is a lot of exposure, visibility, and the people that just they want to help. Like Joe, thanks for being here. First of all, it's great to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, and I remember that great smile, and I was like, oh, it's so good to have Joe on, and that we could share this. And I hope to see you soon. We've got a lot going on in the chamber, so you're gonna have to get out and come join our. We've got a holiday party coming up, and then we've got some great things happening in the new year. So it'd be great to get you back in person. But it's great having Tammy in, a familiar face as part of the chamber. But how big is the organization too? Like you've got many different groups, right?
Yeah, so we have a total of five brick and mortar shelters, and then a lot of
Okay.
housing programs. And we've been able to grow the organization from a very small, as I said, mom and pop organization back when I joined in 2005 to now 190 employees.
Okay.
To about our revenues around 17 million, which is fantastic for us to be able to get those contracts and grants and cash donations to put back into the cause to make sure that again we're ending homelessness.
So, Joe, is there anything else that you would like to share before we end here?
Sure, Angela. So, if you or somebody that you know is experiencing homelessness or domestic violence, we really would like you to reach out to Shelter House. We have the services that you heard already, but we really encourage people, do not be silent. Reach out. There is help
Yeah.
out there. And that's what we are here to do. That's what the staff at Shelter House are here to do, is to help. So if you know anybody that is experiencing domestic violence, or you yourself are experiencing domestic violence, please reach out. We have hotlines. 703-435-4940 is the county hotline. If you're experiencing domestic violence, also call 911. We are in partnership with the police departments, and we partner very closely with them. So I just encourage you to please reach out to us. There is help out there.
Thank you for that, Joe. I really, really appreciate it. And please do reach out if you have or know anyone in need. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Angela.
Stay in touch with us for future episodes. Like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.